Good Monday evening, everyone, and welcome to the weekend that was my new Monday extended show, if you will. First episode, and before we get moving into all of the topics of the day, I would just like to address the fact that I haven't uploaded in a while. And the reason why was because I was using some older equipment to start up with, um, and it didn't always work. And then I got a nice new camera which I'm using for the first time right now. But when I hooked it into my old computer, it didn't seem to like to work. So now I've got a nice new piece of equipment, and it seems to be working just fine. So we are going to advance with all of our plans. The second problem was that I spent some time at home. I didn't take it with me. Um, Went on a little vacation, and then Christmas was a busy time for me at my real job. So unfortunately, it didn't. I didn't get a lot of time to do much there. Followed by just trying to find exactly what my niche was. I know most of what I've done is craft beer reviews, and I love my craft beer, but it's not what I know as well as I do sports topics, movie topics. So it's taken me some time to just sort of find my little niche, if you will. So the plan is I'm going to hopefully do some smaller uploads middle of the week, Tuesday through Friday, if anything occurs that I find worthy of the news uploads for the day. But Monday is going to be my big day. We are going to still do a little bit of a beer review, but we're just going to talk about it briefly at the beginning and enjoy it throughout the recording, and hopefully soon I'll do it live as a live stream type of event. But then we'll go into mostly sports topics. If I've seen a movie, I'll probably talk about it. I'll go over the box office, any sort of interesting news that came through. Like last night. Last night was the Oscars, and I'll do a quick little little rundown on all the winners and what I think of them. Um, but that's sort of the plan I have going forward for the time being, just to get my feet wet, get things moving, um, and we'll see where it goes from there. So to start off with, what are we drinking? This is Founders Green Zebra. It's a sour gose, 4.6%. Um, as has been noted in previous uploads of mine, I do happen to really enjoy sours and goses, so I'm really looking forward to this one, especially also with it being Founders. I've had many a Founders, being originally from the Midwest, and I absolutely enjoy this brewery. So we're going to give it a nice little pour. It's a very blondish color. Yeah. Ooh. Let that head go down a little bit while we get started in our lovely, lovely world, wide world of sports. And one of the things that I want to go over with everyone first is what's coming up this week and what has already started over the weekend. Conference tournament play. I love watching these small conference tournaments to see which teams get their automatic bids from their conferences. Being from Burlington, Vermont, right now, the Vermont Catamounts are one of the top lower tier conference schools, who are number one in their conference, which is the America East. Odds are they'll be going back to the tournament for the second year in a row. Last projection I saw from ESPN's Joe Lunardi was as a 13 seed, I believe. Um, but lower tier conference tournaments are just fun basketball. And as a guy who loves to fill out a bracket every year, I absolutely adore watching these because I use them as scouting games. A few years ago, I was in the top 2,500 in ESPN's, and last year I had a pretty good one on CBS's. And I will do on Sunday this week. I will do a special taping of what I thought of the selections for the selection committee because March Madness is one of my favorite times of year. And next week I will be doing some sort of tournament coverage from home in Cincinnati, where we're looking at a 2 seed, possibly a 3, but the last projections were a 2. After a big win against Wichita in Wichita State yesterday. So good things happening for Cincinnati basketball, and Xavier is the number 1 team in the Big East right now. So Cincinnati area basketball is going to be very, very tough to beat in the tournament this year. It's a tradition that I sort of go on sports bar crawls with my dad, so I'm going to be heading home next week. You probably won't be seeing much from me on Tuesday. Tuesday is going to be my travel day. So what is likely to happen is I will be doing my show on Monday and then packing up all my stuff. Tuesday is a travel day. So my idea is on Wednesday, after the second set of playing games, I will do a bracket fill out. And I know it's a little bit of a cheat to fill out your bracket after the playing games, but I feel like I get a better handle on matchups after those games. So I will do a bracket fill out on Wednesday night, and then after the games end on Thursday and Friday, I will be doing a late night upload of just reviews and thoughts on the games, what upsets happened, what buzzer beaters, great finishes happen, because I love the first 2 days of the tournament. They are my 2 favorite sports days back to back out of the entire calendar year. But it's a holiday. Now that this head has settled down, let's start sipping on our Gose. Ooh, that is very sour and fantastic. The average rating on that one is 3.74. That's getting a 4.5 or 4.75 out of me. That is beautiful. Does it say whether it's... Yep, brew with watermelon and sea salt. That watermelon hit me right from the get-go. I love that flavor. That was fantastic. I'm very happy with that selection today. But speaking of selections, teams that have made it easy for the selection committee, because we've already had some conference tournaments. Bids locked. All right, so first off, on Saturday was the Ohio Valley Conference, I believe. Let me take a look at my little cheat sheet here, because now that I've got a computer that works, I can actually use a little bit of a cheat sheet. Yes, so Murray State clinched on Saturday. They were the first team to punch their tickets in for the tournament. And then yesterday, so we're going to skip over Michigan. Michigan was going to be in anyway, but they won the Big Ten tournament. Congrats to Michigan. You were going to be in anyway. No surprises there. However, there are 2 games that I would like to throw in as of note here. First off, the game that I saw when I came back from my job yesterday was the Atlantic Sun Final between Lipscomb and Florida Gulf Coast, which was a blowout. It was a blowout. I left it when I left at my job. It was halftime, and Lipscomb had put up 60 points and was up 27 or 29, and at one point we're up 32 in the second half. And then Florida Gulf Coast went on a tear. They blew, they Lipscomb blew a lead. They went from a 32-point lead to, with about 4.5 minutes to go, 5 minutes to go, 5 or 6 points. And you're sitting there going, is this going to be the biggest comeback in tournament in a conference tournament ever? And then Florida Gulf Coast just ran out of gas. Lipscomb made their free throws down, and for the first time in their program's history, Lipscomb is going to the big dance. The finish of the night, however, goes to the Big South Conference. Radford wins the game. I believe it was 55-52 on a deep buzzer beater 3. So Radford's going to the tournament. I can't remember if the last time they went. I think it's been fairly recently. And then the Missouri Valley Conference, that automatic bid goes to Loyola of Chicago, who has had a historically good program, maybe not as fantastic in recent years, but they get the automatic bid out of the Missouri Valley. So we've got 4 automatic bids in. 1, 2, yep. So, 5. So 5 automatic bids. I'm sorry, I miscounted. So we'll see them on Selection Sunday. Going into some of the headlines coming out of the weekend in the world of sports, as I look here on ESPN, it looks like the Steelers are going to tag Le'Veon Bell for the second year in a row, which, I mean, that's a lot of money, but that feels like a mistake. If you really want Bell to stay, you're going to have to lock him into a long-term contract. No way around it. He's going to feel spurned. He's going to feel burned by the team. Just look at the situation with Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins is not going to accept another franchise tag, but we'll see what happens. Hopefully the Steelers can get a deal done for Bell. Probably the best if not top 3 running back in the league. The Raiders have released Aldon Smith after an alleged domestic violence incident, and I saw some stories out on this yesterday where it was saying he was on the run, but as of this morning, I believe he has checked himself into a rehab facility to sort of, I guess, get his temper under control. But it's a very sad, sad story. Aldon Smith was a fantastic linebacker for the Raiders, and I don't blame the Raiders one bit for letting him go. You just can't do some of the things that he did. Simple as that. He was already suspended. Drug issues, anger issues. It's always saddening to see such great careers just you get thrown away by doing stupid stuff. But I hope that he gets the help that he needs. I hope that eventually, if he's willing to put in the effort and the work, that he gets to come back and play in the NFL. I'm all for players getting a second chance, but he needs to get his life together first. That is clear. Ichiro is returning to the Mariners. That's news to me as of this afternoon. Let's see if it gives any news on the deal. I don't see any money, but I'm imagining it's not a large deal. He's 44 years old. He's at the end of his career. I have a feeling that it's going to be. I have a very strong feeling that this is going to be essentially a retirement year, or if it's a 2-year deal, he's going to finish out his career in Seattle, who took a big gamble on him, and the last time Seattle was really consistently good, he was a member of that team. So good on the Mariners giving Ichiro a deal. We'll see what comes of it and how much he'll play. He still has a little pop in the bat. We saw him playing for the Marlins, as recently as last year, and he's still got a little pop in the bat. Seattle's a team that loves him. That city loves him, and I hope that he gets a very good farewell tour with the Mariners. I look forward to seeing him play because I'm in a Red Sox market, so every year they get to play 2 series against Seattle. So I'll get a chance to see him play a few times. The Eagles are looking to take trades for Nick Foles, Super Bowl MVP Nick Foles. I can understand why they want to, but they have to have a backup plan because Carson Wentz is probably not going to be ready right away coming off of an ACL tear that late in the season. If I don't know what the Eagles would plan to do if they got rid of Foles. Maybe they trade for another quarterback and a pick. Maybe they'll draft a quarterback. But I'm not wholly convinced that Carson Wentz is going to be 100% ready to go right off the bat. So that's a little surprising as far as I'm concerned. ACL tears take at least a year to come back from, or 9 months. The season begins in less than 9 months. But if they are confident in their plan, then get all the value you can out of it. And in a story that just sort of refreshed in while I was going over the Bell situation, it looks like the Canelo Alvarez versus Triple G rematch has hit a little bit of a snag. Alvarez has apparently tested positive for clenbuterol, which he blames on suspect meat. The deal for the first. So that's. Forgive me. I'm sort of reading into this real quick. Okay, so he submitted 2 samples, and both of them have come back positive for trace amounts of clenbuterol, which is I guess a banned substance for the anti-doping agency. Although it says also in the story that tainted meat seems to be a common thread in a lot of Mexican athletes when they're tested. It'll be interesting to see how that affects the fight. The first fight was fantastic, and I am very excited to get a chance to see the rematch. But we'll see if it's allowed to continue. Who knows? They might have to put the fight on hold while they investigate this further. So that's I'm not as knowledgeable in boxing as I am some other things, but I do know that these are the two best heavyweight boxers in the world right now. This is very delicious. I would recommend this to any friend. Any friend. I believe that's all I have right now for all my various sports topics. If something else comes up in the near future, I will do short little videos on that. That'll be part of what I meant by my Tuesday through Friday sort of postings. Now let's get into the world of film and movies, and we're going to start it off real quick with the top 5 in the box office for this previous weekend. And Black Panther, once again, number one, $66 million. 66, sorry, I got a phone call in the middle of my recording. I would edit that out, but bloopers are part of the fun, aren't they? But Black Panther was number one in the box office this weekend at $66 million, putting its domestic total over $500 million. When I looked at it on Friday or Saturday, its worldwide was already over 700 million. It's getting to a billion very fast. Number 2 was Red Sparrow at 16 million. The Death Wish remake took number 3 at 13 million. That's I'm not sure what the projection was for that, but that's not a bad opening for a Bruce Willis film, especially a remake. Number 4 is the Warner Brothers comedy Game Night, and Peter Rabbit is at number 5, pulling in $10 million. Game Night outgained it by about 300,000-ish. But those are the top 5 in the box office this week. And I'm going to give a little shout out to what was probably my favorite comedy last year, Jumanji: Welcome to the Jungle, in its 11th week, still pulling in the multi-millions. About $4.5 million for Jumanji this weekend in the box office. The Shape of Water, which was the best winner for Best Picture, pulled in another 1.5. Another good weekend for Black Panther. That movie is continuing to go strong. The big question for me now is, will it continue to be number one? Because we have A Wrinkle in Time coming out this week. And that's probably going to be projected to knock it off the top spot. And one that I'm interested in it. I haven't read the book. I don't know the source material. It looks very interesting. Hopefully it's going to be good. Early reports are fairly mixed, but we'll see when the full reviews start coming out. And just a little bit of a special for today is a little bit of a Oscars review, because that was last night, hosted by Jimmy Kimmel, who did an okay job. They played it really safe this year after what happened last year. But going over the winners, actor in a supporting role was Sam Rockwell. Deserved it. 3 Billboards Outside of Ebbing, Missouri was just a beautifully done film, and the fact that they had 2 actors nominated in their supporting role was just was a real testament to how fantastic they were in that. Foreign language film was A Fantastic Woman. I'm not as familiar with the foreign films on the list. I don't think I saw any of those. Actress in a supporting role was Allison Janney in I, Tonya. I'm a big sports guy. I love my sports movies. I will admit I haven't seen that, but I kind of want to. Hopefully it'll be available soon. It didn't really do a lot of showings out here in this tiny little town. In the documentaries, the short category was won by Heaven is a Traffic Jam on the 405. None of these I've ever seen. Some of them I've never heard of. I'm just going to be honest about it. However, in the documentary features, the winner was Icarus, and as a very big sports geek, that's a very important documentary film about the Russian doping scandal, and about how it sort of came to be, and it's a scary little film because if you look at the three chief scientists behind it, one of them is on the run, and the other two disappeared in mysterious circumstances. Yeah, they're dead. Um, in one of the upsets of the night, sort of upsets, the original song was "Remember Me" by from Coco, and I loved Coco. It was one of my favorite top three, maybe top five, definitely top three, maybe movies of last year. But a lot of people were picking "This Is Me" by The Greatest Showman to take that one, but a pleasant little surprise there for Coco. Animated feature film, Coco. Was there ever a doubt? I mean, look at Ferdinand was cute. The Boss Baby. Eh. Loving Vincent was an interesting concept. I don't know if anyone has seen that, but they essentially did animation as if it was one of his oil paintings, and it was a fantastic concept. But Coco was the obvious choice, and I'm happy that it got the win there. Adapted screenplay was Call Me By Your Name, which makes me extraordinarily happy. That film was heart wrenching, beautifully shot, and the acting was fantastic. I am so happy that this got a win last night. The original screenplay, this was an upset. Most people thought it was going to be Three Billboards or Shape of Water, which were the big. The Shape of Water we'll get to in a minute with their wins. But the fact that Jordan Peele's Get Out, which is his first major film project that he's ever directed and been a part of, got a big win in original screenplay. That is fantastic. I am so happy for him. His career is only going to go up. It warms my heart. Actor in a leading role, Gary Oldman as Winston Churchill in The Darkest Hour. It was definitely one of the best performances I think I've ever seen. And it was to me, the obvious choice for a win there. I'm so happy that he finally got a chance to be up on the big stage. and as someone said in one of the chats I was following last night during it, that's right, Commissioner Gordon has an Oscar. The actress in a leading role was Frances McDormand for Three Billboards Outside of Ebbing, Missouri. No shock there. There were some very good. This was a tough one to pick because either one of all these candidates, all these runners up were very deserving and did very fantastic jobs in their roles, especially Meryl Streep in The Post and Sally Hawkins in The Shape of Water. But I think the right choice was made in that one. Director Guillermo del Toro for The Shape of Water, the same man who gave us the first Pacific Rim, gets an Oscar about 2 or 3 weeks before the next Pacific Rim, which he's a producer on. He's not directing, but he's got an Oscar. The man behind the first Pacific Rim has won an Oscar. That's fun. And Best Picture, The Shape of Water. Deserved it. The two obvious choices here were Shape of Water and Three Billboards. Either one winning was the right call. Shape of Water, I was happy. I was very happy for. For production design, The Shape of Water, that was, over Dunkirk, Blade Runner. There were some good ones. I was a big fan of the way Blade Runner looked. Blade Runner was one of my favorites last year, which is why I'm so happy that it got the cinematography award. That movie was so beautifully shot. Even if you don't always agree with the premise, or even if you didn't love the movie itself, you can't take away from the fact that it was shot so wonderfully and looked so. It immersed you in this fantastic different world, and that's one of the things that I loved most about it, is that when I was sitting there watching it, I felt like I was part of that world with the humans and the replicants and all these just fantastic wastelands and cities, and the return of Deckard, good old, good old, good old Harrison Ford. Can't. It's hard to say no to a Harrison Ford movie, unless that Harrison Ford movie is The Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Yeah, didn't like it. Costume design. Winner was Phantom Thread over Beauty of the Beast, Beauty and the Beast, Victoria and Abdul, The Shape of Water, and Darkest Hour. That's a good call. It's a movie about clothes design like a tailoring profession. It makes sense that I think costume design was going to win, especially if it's a movie based on designing fancy clothes. Sound editing goes to Dunkirk. I was rooting for Baby Driver. Baby Driver was one of my favorite films last year, especially in the early part. I think it came out in the early part of the summer. And the way they use music and sound in that movie is fantastic. It's clever. I was disappointed that it didn't get some of the love I felt like it deserved. It did all right in the box office, which Edgar Wright movies usually mixed, but I like Edgar Wright. I like his movies. Sue me. Don't. Sound mixing also was Dunkirk. Pretty much the same. As a matter of fact, if I look at... Yep, they were the exact same. So, sound mixing, sound editing, hand in hand. Dunkirk is the big winner in that. Animated short film. Again, sports dork in me. Kobe Bryant has an Oscar. He was the man in charge of that little production, and he's now an Oscar winner. Go Kobe. Didn't need Shaq for that one, did you? Live action short film. A lot of people were talking about DeKalb Elementary. The winner is The Silent Child. Admittedly, I haven't seen any of these. I'm not as familiar with any of these, so I don't really have a fantastic opinion for that. Original score. The Shape of Water gets that one. How many of you were rooting for John Williams to get one for The Last Jedi? Yeah. A little more Star Wars stuff coming here in a minute, too. Visual effects, Blade Runner, and this is one where there's a little controversy. War for the Planet of the Apes. War for the Planet of the Apes was nominated for this. This is the third movie in that Apes franchise that has been nominated in the visual effects category. All three in that trilogy were nominated, and 0 for 3. They have not won it once in any of the times that they've been nominated, which to me that's a travesty. Andy Serkis and his work in those movies is beautiful and fantastic. However, as a fan of Blade Runner 2049, I'm going to give that one a pass. I will personally give that one a pass for Blade Runner. Film editing, Dunkirk is the winner. I will not argue that. It is a beautifully put together movie. And makeup and hairstyling, Darkest Hour. I can see where they come from with this one, especially with all the prosthetics that they had to put onto Gary Oldman to make him look like Winston Churchill. It makes sense. And I know I had those a little bit out of order, but I'm going down the list, so I apologize. And that's sort of the Oscar wrap-up for that. To finish off this week, tonight is a very special event. A few minutes ago, I mentioned Star Wars. And tonight, are going to bid farewell to Star Wars Rebels. It has been an interesting couple of weeks since it's come back. A little bit of a spoiler territory here, so most of what I'm going to talk about was 2 weeks ago. If you haven't seen it, tune out for the rest of this. But 2 weeks ago was one of the most emotional episodes of TV I have ever watched, with the early farewell to Kanan Jarrus, aka Caleb Dume. That scene, still 2 weeks later, just tears my heart out, because for the first 4.5 seasons, we've gotten used to Phoenix Squadron, which is Hera, Sabine, Zeb, Chopper, Kanan, and Ezra. All being, even when they were separated, like when Sabine and Ezra were on Mandalore, there was still they were still all going to get to back together. They were a team, and one of the things they kept teasing throughout this season, especially so far, was the feelings that Hera had for Kanan. And in about a minute and a half at the end of the episode, to bring back the second half of the final season, they killed off Kanan in a very emotional scene. And the previous couple of episodes, the episode after, dealt with the ramifications of that. Last week we got back into some of the action. The team went and found the old Jedi Temple. Sabine and Ezra did their sneaking around bit, and the first episode wasn't as it was fine. It set up, but what it really did was set up part 2 of last week, which was Ezra in the temple, reaching into the portal, saving Ahsoka, and the conversation that they had inside the temple, where they find Kanan's portal, and it's right at the scene where Kanan's is holding back the blast on top of the fuel tank after the AT-ATs shot into it, explosion, and Ezra goes, "I can reach in. I can save Kanan." And in the end, Ahsoka gives a great lesson to Ezra that if you reach in and save Kanan, his sacrifice will be for nothing, because the rest of you will have perished in that blast. And then Ian McDiarmid as the Emperor shows up, and it's a great scene. Blue fire coming after Ezra and Ahsoka. The voice of Palpatine is fantastic. And now we have to bid farewell to not just the series, but this team. And a couple of my buddies and I were discussing what's going to happen. There are various storylines that need to be tied into here. Where were these characters after the series? We don't see them in the movies. We've got that special with Hera on Endor, so we know Hera and Chopper make it. But what about the rest? Ezra, Sabine, and Zeb. My theory is we're going to lose 2 of them. I think Ezra's gone. I think somehow, someway we're going to lose Zeb. I think Sabine is going back to Mandalore. These are just basic predictions. A couple of other characters we have that I'm curious about. Kallus. I don't think he's a big enough character that you have to worry about writing him off in the TV series. Um, we do believe Thrawn survived. I think one of the big things that's going to come out of this is that the Emperor is going to shut down the TIE Defender program and move all of the assets and resources into the Death Star, which is something that's been teased throughout the second half of the season. And then Thrawn's right-hand woman in this one, Governor Pryce, who is the one responsible for all these shortcomings in the Empire in the past couple of episodes. She's either going to be demoted, killed off, or just defect to the rebels. But it'll be interesting. That goes up at 8 o'clock tonight. I will probably do a Rebels recap video just to sort of tie everything in tomorrow. We'll see if I have time for that. But I believe that's it for tonight, for today. Trust me, it's when it's your first time doing this long of a filming session, it's a little nerve-wracking. So drink up. I hope you all enjoyed this video. I had fun making it for you all. Hopefully this will become a regular Monday thing. We'll see. And like I said, next Monday, I will be, this Sunday, I will do a post-selection show, snubs and flubs, if you will. And then next Monday, I'll do my usual Monday show. And as I said, Tuesday, travel day. And then Thursday and Friday will be the tournament coverage days. So until the next time I see you guys, cheers.